Over 900 employees sacked by an IT giant. The employees allege that they were given 7 minutes to vacate the office. Allege that they were forced to resign by bouncers and outsourced HR staff.
They said they have two options. One is like they give a termination, or they give us ask me to resign.
So the loyal, hard-working people have been sent out in a day with 7 minutes time to decide whether you want the money they are giving or you don't want the money and go out.
It has been 2 months since they were left with no job. These employees say that they have family members to feed and loans to repay. They have now approached the Labour Commission for relief.
This person claims that as he entered his cabin, he was immediately called to another bay where there was an outsourced consultant who was waiting, and the person was given only 7 minutes to resign. No reasons, nothing given whatsoever.
And it's not just Chennai. Over 3 dozen employees were sacked by the very same company in Hyderabad.
Without any due respect, they asked us to leave on the spot, and without any notice or without any information to employees.
They did not consider our plea about stay another 2 to 3 months to continue and fetch a good job outside the market.
Bouncers, goons, doctors, psychiatrists, everybody was used to physically intimidate and threaten people and force them to resign from their jobs.
As India seeks to attract more investments to create more jobs, Mirror now asks, should the centre also ensure that these companies follow labour norms as laid down in India? Does India need to review labour laws? Do we need to frame new labour laws that set in place a protocol for firing employees? Let's debate.
Well, here's a question that we're asking on the Urban Debates tonight. I'm Faye D'Souza. You're watching Mirror Now. Thank you for tuning in. Right now, we have no labour laws in this country that will protect you. If you make more than 650,000, you make more than 6,500 rupees a month, I beg your pardon. So for IT employees, media employees, pharmaceutical employees, anybody who makes more than 6,000 rupees a month, there are no labour laws in this country to protect you. No employment laws in this country to protect you. Which means that your organization could pink slip you or fire you tomorrow. Much in the same manner as the one that has taken place in Chennai. Incidentally, we spoke to people here who told us that even if these employees are going forward to file a complaint, the case is very weak because there are no laws to support them. Is it time that in our country right now, going through the fact that we might see more and more unemployment, there should be laws that protect employees for this sort of behavior? Bouncers who threaten, physically and mentally intimidate people to sign resignation letters and leave the company in 7 minutes. Are we okay with this new normal? Is this what we are inviting the multinational companies into India to do? That's the question we're asking today. And my phone lines are open to you. Pick up the phone and call us. We're going to put through as many phone calls as we can. Joining me on the show, Gopal Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP, Santosh Mehrotra, senior economist who focuses on area of labour employment skill development. A. Welkin is the General Secretary of the Union of IT and ITES employees, who was also recently laid off and will share his experience. Rituparna Chakravarti, President of the Indian Staffing Federation and co-founder of Team Lease. Sanjay Jha, spokesperson of the Congress. Praveen Chandradas from the Forum of IT Professionals, and Ramakant Gaur is an advocate who joins us as well. I welcome all of you to this conversation. I'm going to start with Mr. A. Welkin. Mr. Welkin, tell us your experience and tell us why you have decided to start a union of IT employees.
Yeah. So, Union of IT and ITES employees started because we see precarious work is increasing in Indian context, especially in the IT employees industry. And the employers are trying to find loopholes behind the regulations to maximize their profit by putting the risk on top of their employees instead of creating innovations of it. Because of this, employees feel they are very insecure and the job is uncertain. and that reflects on, and that makes continuously. So this is the reason majorly we are trying to organize. When you take examples like Verizon few years back, but because of the protectionism in US and Brexit, the UK market and the local pro-employer policy followed by the BJP government, the companies are they are migrating the risk whatever they have on top of the employee situation than what was there earlier. This is the reason we are trying to organize stakeholders of the IT industry, and they don't have any voice to, they don't have any organization to raise their interest.
So tell me something, Mr. Velkin, tell me something. What happened in your case, and what are the allegations right now being made by the employees in Chennai?
So what happened is, on a fine day, December 12th, 900 of employees being sent out who are having L rating. L rating is the leading rating. So lead rating performance, the good perform employee who are loyal to them are being sent out in a single day, given in a 7 minutes time to decide whether they want money or they don't want money. Any of the choice, they are told that this is not a forum to discuss. You need to decide you need to take any both of them and get out of the office immediately, followed by a bouncer. So this created most of the employees who have affected on that, around 450 employees by their count, have went into a mental shock, and most of them are yet to get recovered even after the 2 months time period. The people who have recovered, around 70 people have come forward in Chennai to file petition against the Verizon management. They've also raising concerns on how the management is taking forward the legal struggle or the legal proceedings before the employees. When the employees are part of the company, they have not taken a single step to teach them their legal right. But when the employees approach government for justice, they are putting a experienced senior lawyer on before the employees, which is against the law. So this is the issue happening, and the issues keep on, the employer along with the labor department keep on trying the issue without considering the criticality of the issue. 450 employees have been affected, 450 employees' family have been affected. Without considering this, the issues being dragged for more than 2 months without single official reply from the employer side.
All right. Let me bring in other members right now of the panel. Mr. Mehrotra, Santosh Mehrotra, senior economist who focuses on labor and employment. Mr. Mehrotra, the going was good for 15 years as far as the Indian IT industry was concerned. So nobody really bothered about the fact that there are no laws in this country to protect IT employees or BPO employees or anybody else. The going has not been very good for the last couple of years, and we're seeing more and more of these instances. Do we need stronger laws, or do we just need to get used to this new normal?
No, this is not a good situation that we can afford to get used to, because as we all know, that enterprises which account for more than 10 workers account for no more than 22% of our entire workforce. I mean, there might have been some formalization of the workforce that might have taken place on account of GST, but the fact remains that we can't have a situation where organized segment workers are actually, losing jobs. Now, the IT industry quite clearly has undergone A, technological change, and B, a change of government in the US, which is sort of getting tough. So what has become clear to owners of these large IT companies is that they have to weigh the cost of reskilling people who they have. Either they reskill them and then perhaps be able to go for new contracts, and if they can't reskill them, then they will let them go. And that's the reality that this industry is unfortunately facing, big firms or small firms. And all I can say is this is tragic. I mean, what the labor laws say about this is, I mean, my suspicion is that all these workers were on contracts, and this must have been part of their contract. I mean, if there is a violation of contract, then clearly they can be, the company
Yes.
can be taken to court.
Yes.
However, my suspicion is, because I don't know which company we're talking about and what the nature of the contract was,
Right, and
whether
yes.
they can be taken to court or not.
Yes, and Mr. Mehrotra, you know, we asked around as well while doing research on this show, and I was told that in India, you are at the mercy of the contract that you sign with your employer. So, you know, you'll have a lot of HR teams who tell you this is a standard employment contract, but nothing is standard. You have to read every word, you have to read every clause, because something in that contract can be used to dismiss you or terminate you without any reason. Praveen Chandra's Forum of IT Professionals from Hyderabad. What experiences have we had in Hyderabad up until now?
Before I talk about the experiences in Hyderabad, there are a couple of things I would like to point out from the things that you have mentioned. Number one is the myth that, you know, labor laws do not apply to IT employees in India. That is a myth, and labor laws do apply to all the IT employees who are working in India. Even the contract thing,
Of course they do.
let it be Verizon, let it be Tech Mahindra, let it be Infosys, TCS, it is an employment agreement which has to fall under what is called the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act. Now, there's another thing. You know, a lot of people, a lot of us believe that, hey, I have signed this contract where the employer has probably mentioned that I can fire you at any point of time, and I've agreed to that, you know, employment agreement, and hence I'm bound by that agreement. This is again, you know, not true, because I cannot. I mean, whatever is signed will still have to be legally valid. What you sign here, if this is not according to the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act, then this has no legal standing. This has no legal validity, and it is legally void. The other thing that was pointed out was that there is a technological shift and also the government change in the US which has had an impact on the Indian IT industry. While I do give some credence to that, we'll also have to take a hard look at the statistics. Look at all the major industries. All the major services, IT services in industries in India are making thousands and thousands of crores of profits. Their profits are only increasing while their headcount is decreasing. I would like to state that what is happening here is actually profit maximization at the expense of people's lives, at the expense of families being thrown out onto the roads. Take any firm. Tech Mahindra is a classic example. I'll just look at the 3-quarter results that were shown in 2017-18 financial year. From quarter 1 to quarter 3, they had a net decrease of 2,500 employees, whereas their profits grew by 150 crores.
Yes.
Now you can look at Infosys, TCS, other examples, you'll find the same case. In Hyderabad, the same thing is happening. In Hyderabad alone, in just 2017, more than 20,000
But you know, you can't
employees
hold
have
that
lost their
against
jobs.
these employers. But tell me something. Can we hold that against these employers if they are finding more efficient ways to do things and to reward their stock, to reward their investors and their stockholders? Can we fault them that, or is it just business?
So, no, I think we should hold them accountable, because these companies have set up their shops in India by taking subsidies from our government. You know, it is we, the taxpayers of the country, who are actually helping set up these companies. Look at the subsidies that are being given to these companies in the form of land concessions. You know, there are lots of companies which are taking land at lease in the form of 1 rupee per acre per year, and it is a 19-year lease. They are giving subsidies in the form of tax incentives. Look at this statement of revenue foregone in the budgets. Lakhs of crores of tax revenue.
All right, let me
foregone.
bring in the government representative. One second. Gopal Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP. Gopal Agarwal, where do you stand personally on this matter? Because it's a tricky thing. On one hand, we have these massive MNCs who are coming in, setting up shop and then firing people at will. How do you think the government should be dealing with this problem?
No, if an MNC is coming and setting up a shop, it's good for the economy. But they have to operate within the law of the land. Nobody is giving them any explicit power to do anything what they want, and that their international laws will not be applicable in India. Domestic laws have to be appreciated and they have to work within those laws. So what we have to look into is, as has been mentioned by one or two of your panelists, is there has to be a contractual obligation on between the employer and the employee, and that contractual agreement is enforceable within the Indian laws. If you merge too many things in a one discussion or in the one problem, then the problem will never get solved. We can discuss the problem end on end, but what is the solution? One thing is that MNC is not a problem. If they come to India, it's not a problem for Indians or Indian government or Indian economy. They will benefit, definitely benefit the Indian economy. The IT sector saw the boom because these IT companies came to India. They work for multinational operations. There was BPO, KPO. This fueled the IT growth in India over last some of the years. So that's not bad for Indian economy. One thing. Second thing is they cannot. They have if they have violated any of the law, then we have our legal course. All the employees, they can form association. Now we can have a class application also in the court. That in itself, these associations and the labor commissioner and other legal help that these employees can get, that is available to do, and they should fight. They are educated,
Mr. Agarwal, if someone has lost their job, where will the money come from in order to go to court? Let me bring in Ramakant Gaur here, who is an advocate. Ramakant Gaur, first of all, right now employer contracts or employee contracts are very complicated. And if someone has just lost their job, they're going to worry about how to pay their EMIs, how to pay school fees next month. Where will they have the money to take the company to court?
Absolutely, and more particularly when the laws in this country are lame, the policy
but what is the solution?
Gopalji, please have patience. Law in this country is actually lame. Policy makers are actually dumb on this subject in spite of reprimanded by Supreme Court, and executive is actually numb. They are not taking any action. So how the law will take its own course, it is a big question. As far as this perspective is concerned, we have no good policy in spite of Supreme Court reminding us again and again, and last time Supreme Court reminded us in 2016. And Supreme Court says you have to create the policy which is good for the workers, which has not been formulated by any of the government. Either it was Congress or it is BJP. The labor laws are actually eased to give benefits so that these MNCs work. Yes, for sure, the business is good. If the MNC comes into India and do the business, it is really good. But you are giving subsidies, as a gentleman rightly said, you are giving subsidies, you are setting up EOUs, you are setting up SEZs, and then you are giving them tax rebates. What happened? Because they'll make some certain losses into the business, and they are sacking these employees like they are thrashing them, they are physically handling them. This is something which is really bad. Donald Trump said America first.
No, but Donald Trump gave the employment also. Initially the people got employment. You cannot
and now in 2020 India will be the biggest youth force in the world, and you have no policy to deal with that. You have the
but Mr. Ramakant Gaur, explain to us this, and this is what my research says, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the labor laws apply to what is known as workmen.
Correct.
And workmen are people who basically do uncreative, skilled, monotonous work. And I've actually heard from the HR people that I spoke to today, they said, if I want to make sure that you cannot take me to court under labor laws, I change your designation and make you a manager of some sort. If you're a manager, if your designation has the word manager in it, you can no longer use the labor laws in your favor. Is that true, Mr. Gaur?
See,
can I answer this?
The courts look into the perspective whether a person is given a supervisory role or a role which is independent, and any person can file before the Labor Commissioner under the provisions of Industrial Dispute Act. So there is no such thing that they have no remedy. In fact, the basic principle of law is where there is a wrong, there is remedy. But here in India, we are facing all practical problems. if a person, even if he is a manager and he is thrown out in a wrongful manner, he has remedy to approach before the civil courts. At the same time, how many years will he fight with the employers in the civil courts? Ages. He has actually no practical remedy available which can actually deal with his problems immediately. But at the same time, may I offer these employees of this union my free services so that their issues can be redressed.
So Ramakant Gaur there. So we're making progress. Ramakant Gaur offering his free services to the Union of IT Employees so that they can have someone represent them. Let me also bring in Ritubhara Chakrabarti, President of Indian Staffing Federation. Are we seeing more and more of these incidents, Ritubhara? Now, you don't have to give us the names of the companies if it makes you uncomfortable, but we've heard stories of employees being marched into a room, being told to leave immediately without going back to their desks, without packing their things, employees being threatened, employees being told that if you don't leave immediately and don't go quietly, you will be blacklisted, you'll never get another job. How much of this is actually happening? How much have you come across?
Before we get into the aspects of policies, multinational, domestic companies, I think any incident of this is deplorable. It is inhuman. I think what we need to focus on is it's a fact that businesses start, but there is a possibility a business cannot go on forever, and there has to be ways out for employers. Having said that, I think the way some of these situations are being handled definitely are deplorable. And I think that is what I think the issue is. If the issue is about laws, honestly, I agree with all the co-panelists who've actually shared their views on it. Laws are adequate in this country. I think India is one of the most regulated countries in the world, and I don't think the absence of law is a challenge here. Even employment contracts, no matter what an employee and employer signs, finally the terms of the contract needs to be as per the law of the land, and if it isn't, it is actually of no relevance. It might be used in some organizations to kind of pressurize employees, but honestly it won't hold good in a court of law. But I think when we are on the subject of laws, it's important to also observe that we have to strike a balance when we're talking about laws between job protection as well as job creation. At this point of time, I think the entire IT industry is going through a difficult time, and it's not just in India. I think it's happening globally. Correct. The organization around which we are having today's conversations have had layoffs, I believe, even in US. So it's a problem that is engulfing the entire industry. However, the lack of sensitivity with which some of these organizations are going about doing the separation is what is alarming, and it will not hold good. It will not hold good for the future in terms of attractiveness of this sector per se, because it is definitely creating a lot of angst and bloodbath, which I think the industry can do without. Honestly, we have a lot to thank this industry, because this industry has created a lot of jobs, have transformed careers, have made people millionaires, and it's not that they have not done what it should have been. But I think some of the incidents which are happening, yes,
right.
We need to
so my question is this. So my question is this. I haven't brought in Sanjay Jha yet, but I'm going to take this one second. I'm going to take this back to Santosh Mehrotra. Santosh Mehrotra, if we have adequate laws in our country, then why is this so rampant? Why, even right now, I'm getting, I'm receiving live responses from my viewers who are telling me that this has also happened to them, that they know someone who was let go of in this manner. So are these companies afraid of the law, unafraid of the law? Are they above the law? Is the law toothless? What's going on?
What seems to be going on in my reading, Faye, is that these companies have deep pockets and they feel that they can fight these things out in the courts while their employees cannot. So the employees will get taken for a ride while the companies will continue to fight this in the courts, and our legal system, I think the less said about it, the better on these matters. So my sense of this situation is that that's what they are banking on. However, I think Rituparna is absolutely right. We really need to focus on the reality of these situations and these very bright people who have contributed so much to the IT industry, to our export earnings and to our country. And clearly now it's time for the industry to get together, and this industry getting together needs to be, I believe, facilitated by the government, because the industry may not otherwise get together. Because clearly there is a technological change which has taken place and is taking place in the IT industry, and that requires very rapid, agile responses in terms of reskilling and retraining people who are slightly older. And this requires concerted action by the companies themselves, who have done sterling work in the past to actually train their own staff. But now there is a need of reskilling, but so many people are being thrown off work that industry can perhaps be brought together if industry is not coming together.
Let me bring in Sanjay Jha, and I've received a message from someone who says
brought together by government.
Yes. If you take a company to court, if an employee who has been laid off takes a company to court, it actually becomes really difficult to get another job, because your reputation then becomes that of a rabble-rouser, someone who will create trouble. Nobody wants to hire you, and apparently you get blacklisted among headhunters who then sort of avoid you. So it's unfair to tell employees today that yes, our laws are very strong, yes, none of this will hold up in court, go to court, go to court. I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and it's going to get me into further trouble if I go to court. Sanjay Jha.
No, I absolutely agree with that, Faye. Let me tell you that even employers are their own incestuous community. I mean, they track people, very closely, especially the high-profile type. I can tell you, for example, in the investment banking world, practically everyone knows everybody else, and it's very, very difficult, for example, to try and take an employer through the legal course. The truth, though, at a larger level on this debate, the macroeconomic reality is that India is in a serious job crisis. I'll tell you what happens. When you have some kind of a serious fault line that you're not able to correct, then the employer-employee relationship becomes very lopsided. I can give you an example, Faye. When the markets are booming, and when I'm not talking about stock markets, when the economy booms, employers lay out the red carpet. I remember the joke in Bangalore that trespassers will be recruited because they were desperate to hire people. But now the equation has become very skewed. The employer is powerful because there are no jobs, and especially where IT is concerned, thanks to artificial intelligence and robots and drones and big data, you have a situation where the IT industry itself is becoming more automated. So the challenge that we have today is that, I think this is something that we need to embrace. I don't want to pussyfoot around it, but tell you that a multinational company or a domestic company is ultimately going to respond to their shareholder value, and they are very brutal about it. If they believe that their business is not doing well and they need to cut costs, they were going to sack people left, right and center. That's happening in India, and the example that you're talking about perhaps manifests how serious the problem is. Now the truth of the matter is that the only solution to this is that if you create a vibrant ecosystem for jobs, which means the economy has to grow, not just in one sector, but provide alternative options for the young in India, which has really not happened. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't want to, kind of make a political statement, but we are frivolous and flippant by saying, a pakoda economics will work. It doesn't work. The age of jugaad is over. Jugaad is no longer that sexy term that we were very proud of. You need to be organized, you need to have a plan, you need to be focused on how to get there. India's demographic dividend is becoming a serious social problem. What will the young do if they don't have a 9-to-6 job?
Right.
I mean, they are going to become extremely
to this.
difficult.
No, let Gopal Agarwal respond to this. One second. Gopal Agarwal will respond. Gopal Agarwal, please.
Yeah. There are issues with employment which the government has already flagged off, and it is doing best to sort this out. There was an issue, therefore the jobs market is not very good at present. Therefore, the government had taken so many steps with regard to formalization of many of the sectors where informal sectors was being operated, so that employees have a better deal. With regard to contract jobs also, government has taken several steps so that they are considered in EPF. In the current budget also, the government has given incentives to employers to put the people under the EPF and ESI, where the government is contributing 12.5% of any new employee being employed by any person for 3 years. Even the women employer, the government is contributing 4% on behalf of the employer, so that they are
no. One second. Mr. Gopal Agarwal, let's focus on the problem that we are having. Let's focus on the problem that we actually are facing at this point. The problem is that employees are being let go of, they're being fired, they're being pink slipped by organizations in the most insensitive and unethical manners. They're being intimidated, they're being threatened, they're being mentally and physically intimidated. How is this okay? Now, nobody is questioning the larger schemes being done by the government. What we are asking here is, how do we solve this specific problem? What is the best way to solve this problem, Mr. Agarwal?
This is the problem. I think we do not, I do not know whether these companies have violated the law of the land. If what the persons who are saying here, it seems that they are violating the law of the land. Then there is a legal course. Government cannot act without a legal course. If there is a legal violation, the government will definitely act. There are departments in the government.
Mr. Ramakant Gaur, isn't there a legal violation, and hasn't the Supreme Court asked the government to react?
Gone to the court? I do not know.
Somebody who is manhandled?
No, and the second thing is, ultimately,
Ramakant Gaur, hasn't there been a violation?
FIR, they can go for the legal course, and they can go to labor commissioners. And if
Mr. Gopal Agarwal, do you know how many years it takes to conclude the proceeding before the labor commissioner? Please be aware.
Mr. Sanjay, I am not answering your questions. Mr. Sanjay Jha, I am not answering your question. Let the anchor ask, I will answer. I am not in debating with you personally. Let the anchor ask, I will answer.
Gentlemen, don't squabble.
Sophisticated tranquility.
Ramakant Gaur, obviously if someone is being intimidated and threatened, there is a law that is being broken. But I refuse to believe that the only route here is to approach the courts. Where is the time? Where is the money? How long do these processes take? And Mr. Gopal Agarwal seems to think that no law has been broken or some law has been broken, file an FIR. Is that also your reaction to what is happening? Why are so many instances taking place?
I am not saying no law has been broken. It seems, I am not saying that no law is broken.
In fact,
it seems that there is a manipulation on the part of the employer. They should take the legal course or go to the authorities.
Would you please, Mr. Agarwal, every labor commissioner is falling under the central government, right? There is a central ministry, and labor department falls under them. EPF department falls under them. Other departments are falling under them. Why do not the central government expedite the proceedings before the labor commissioner and other departments, so that these people, 450 people, get the remedy in a month's time or 2 months' time or 6 months' time? There has to be some limit. They cannot keep on litigating for years together.
Have they approached the government departments?
Yes, that is what has happened in the commencement of the debate.
Right. In fact, let me go back to Mr. Welkin. Mr. Welkin, what is your reaction to the responses you're hearing right now
about the departments have said?
1 second, Mr. Welkin, what response have you received from the department from the people who filed the complaint?
Response of the government on these issues if there is a violation.
Welkin, please, Mr. Welkin, go ahead. Mr. Welkin, go ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you. Yeah, so we filed on the 12th. The illegal retrenchment was started in the Verizon in Chennai OTP, the Verizon headquarters. And immediately on the next day, we filed petition on behalf of the union to the Labour Commissioner. The Labour Commissioner from that time till today, they were not able to get an official response from the company. What happened? Why they have done that? What is the reason behind sending out so many people in a single day? This is the speed in which the Labour Commissioner and the Labour Department works. For every meeting, they are taking 10 to 15 days. And even after 2 months of time, we are not able to get a single official reply from the employer. Then how do you think we will have, or the employees who are affected will have trust on the legal system to get remedy? Even if they start going for the remedy through the legal system, what you told as one of the system which has successful or which can be trusted, their employees are threatening them that they'll be blacklisted in the NASSCOM NSR. The lawyer who told us to help, we like to thank him, but we would also like to help him in explaining to the viewers, is it legal for the NASSCOM to black an employee just because he's acting against an employer legally for the illegal activities employer done? Please do so, sir.
Of course not. Anybody who has been sacked without the reason and reasons to believe this is completely illegal, arbitrary, malefied and unconstitutional. So be assured that nothing of this sort can happen, and if this thing happen, you have the remedy to get that quashed.
Yes, but look at this, and I'm going to go over to Praveen here. Praveen, NASSCOM is an association of IT companies that's meant to be working towards the betterment of the industry. What business does NASSCOM have blacklisting employees for taking their former employers to court?
Absolutely. If NASSCOM does that, then it is a violation of the fundamental right to live in our country. You know, I'm fighting for justice. I'm fighting for my right to live by earning my salary through doing a job. You know, and there is no business of NASSCOM actually blacklisting anybody. And there are a couple more points, Faye, that I would like to make. IT industry is going through a difficult time. This is, a globalization sort of thing. Like, I repeat a lie 100 times and everybody believes that it is true. Whereas in fact, all the statistics tell us that all the companies are making hundreds of crores of profits, if not thousands of crores of profits. Verizon, which has sacked 900 employees in one day, in Q3 of 2017, they have 22,000 crores of profits. So there is this big myth, there is a big lie that's wrapped around our eyes which says that IT industry is going through this thing. And on the other hand, we have Mr. Gopal, who is essentially saying that the government is abdicating from its basic responsibilities and duties. He accepts that the companies are violating the laws, but what he is saying is that, oh, please approach the courts. We as the government will not take any action. We will not take cognizance of the illegal things that are happening in the country. Then why do we have the government? Could you please ask Mr. Gopal, what is the government doing other than asking people to just go and approach the lawyers and courts?
No, I asked you whether you have approached the government departments. What was their response? I did not say.
But they just told us, Mr. Agarwal, we just heard the answer that the Labour Commission takes 2 months.
Just today, please hold on. Just today, 52 people have moved the High Court in Hyderabad, in the state of Telangana. 52 people have moved the High Court, including a pregnant employee who was sacked in spite of letting the management know that she was pregnant. Now, what do you think these families are going through, and why is it that the government not acting on any of these things? We have approached the Labour Commissioner December 12th to February 7th. This is already more than 2 months. What is happening? Now, we have filed these cases from Tech Mahindra as well. Against Tech Mahindra in the High Court, it's been almost 6 months. And the government has been known only for its inaction over these 6 months. What is the government doing except abdicating its responsibilities and duties?
Mr. Agarwal, do you believe it's the government's place here to step in, or do you think that this is something that the judiciary should handle?
The government has to step in. The government
no,
has.
There are issues. Judiciary is one part, police is another part, and the government department with regard to Labour Commissioner, etc., is a third part, and the association of these people can be another part. We are in a democracy. The government cannot, with all sympathy to these people, the government cannot act and just whims and fancies that.
Sir, you act on the matter of cow. You act on the matter of Padmavati. You act on several other such matter frivolous matters. They act on cow issues.
Nobody has acted. This is
you have created enactment on the issues of cow.
Who is acting
You
on
you
cow?
have
How
you
are
have the
making
time
these
to
things?
deal with
Have
beef
at
shops.
least a
You have
decency
time to
for a
deal with
debate.
all such issues. You have no time to deal with the issue where a pregnant woman is invoking the doors of justice before the High Court or other departments. You are talking simpliciter that the law will take its own course, Labour Commissioner will take its own course. What is this, Mr. Agarwal? Please be sensitive about the people.
No, I
People are
never
hungry.
use this word.
People are hungry.
You are putting these words into my mouth. Did I any time?
I cannot
You
dare
see
to
the
do that.
recording. You see the recording. Did I any time say the law will take its own course?
You are talking
No,
about
you are
Labour
not.
Commissioner.
All right, gentlemen, one at a time. Let me bring in Santosh Mehrotra. Let me bring in Mr. Mehrotra. Mr. Mehrotra, I want you to react to what Mr. Welkin has said. 2 months since these
Say one
employees
point.
went to the Labour Commission. And the Labour Commission hasn't even managed to get an official response out of the company, which means that nobody holds this Labour Commission in any sort of esteem. And this company has not even responded to notices from the Commission. So this is a dead end. So what do these employees do now? And someone who's going to be looking for a new job, figuring out how do I pay my EMIs, how do I pay school fees, where will they go?
Labour Commissioner or not?
You don't
Mr. Mehrotra, please. Mr. Mehrotra.
Well,
Mr. Mehrotra.
Faye, I'll remind you what I said earlier, that these are companies which have deep pockets, and the government will act in its own procedural ways. The lawyer is repeatedly reminding us that these employees, former employees, have gone to the Labour Commissioner, and we've seen how the companies are responding to them, or rather not responding to them. So, I mean, this is exactly how you expect the relationship between the Labour Department of the government and the judiciary to work. Now, that's why I want to remind ourselves, I think, that it's absolutely critical that the government holds large companies to account. Now, with all due respect to the IT specialist who's lost his job, I want to say that companies may be making large profits, of course, goes without saying, but at the same time, we cannot wish away or walk away from the fact that technological change is taking place. All of us know that. So there is a certain churn that is taking place in the IT, excuse me, IT industry. And, and it is because of this churn that companies are taking this action. Therefore, and there's clearly no question about it that there is a certain category of employees who are getting impacted adversely. Now, they need to be reskilled. This is the way, you know, in advanced industrialized countries, when technological change takes place, responsive governments intervene. Responsive governments intervene by ensuring systems of reskilling which are put in place by companies, not by government. And therefore, that's what the government needs to facilitate. That's the argument
Mr. Mehrotra, I completely agree with what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. In a capitalist environment, we can't fault companies for learning how to do things more efficiently. So instead of employing 50 people, if I can figure out how to do a job with 5 people and 4 machines, and it saves me money and makes me more efficient, you cannot fault a company from doing that. But do we have clear laws in our country that specifies that when a company is letting go of an individual without warrant or reason, which means this person is not a bad performer, they have not broken any of the rules, they have not violated their contract, there is no good reason for firing this person, do we have a regulation in this country that specifies how this should be done, how much compensation should be paid, and how these employees ought to be treated? Also, is NASSCOM allowed to run a blacklist of employees, preventing them from going to court?
No. I can't imagine how NASSCOM can run a blacklist. I mean, that if NASSCOM has done that, NASSCOM should be taken to court, honestly, point one. Point two, I mean, I've said this earlier, Faye, that
I agree.
You may have all the laws in the world, but the fact of the matter is that in our country we have 45 central government laws on labor alone. Only of the central government we have 45 laws, and there are state government laws on top of that, and the country has only 14,000 labor inspectors. We have too few inspectors, too many laws, which is why the central government is moving towards collapsing these 45 laws into 4 codes. Now, that's a long-term project. It's ongoing. It's very good that it's happening. But the fact of the matter is that if you have so many laws, then expecting that the inspectorate system or the legal system will give you quick remedy, which is what our very esteemed IT professionals are hoping for, is asking for something which has not happened so far in our country. It might happen sometime in the future, which is why I'm saying if immediate redress has to happen, then clearly the government needs to act in order to begin to ensure that as people are losing jobs, then the retraining is ensured, and not retraining at government cost, not at your and my taxpayer money cost. It's at the cost of the companies.
Someone
needs
to make that regulation, though, Santosh Mehrotra, and then someone needs to actually. Yes, someone needs to make that regulation, and someone needs to actually enforce it. Let me go to Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, it's very easy today, Sanjay Jha, to turn around and say this is what the government should do. One second. Yes, Sanjay Jha, it's very easy to turn around today and say that government must do this or that. The truth is, all of these MNCs were invited in. The carpet was brought out by the UPA government. They were given land, they were given SOPs, they were given tax holidays, but no rules were written on how they should treat their employees. This is the raw end of that stick, Sanjay Jha.
You know, Faye. No, Faye, let me tell you, it's a very pertinent question. I think the fundamental point is what you raised earlier, that what kind of an economy do we want to be? Do we want to be a free market economy? As you said, if you want to be a total capitalist system, then it's going to move on demand and supply. You'll have a price. And if the employer believes that he doesn't need people, he's going to be ruthless about it. And we'll have many such unpleasant situations like we are talking about, which is why the UPA, during the time when the Congress was in government, we always talked about an inclusive development model for India. You can't have, what Mr. Modi's government has done is to say we'll only do growth and growth will take care of equity. It doesn't happen that way. India has got a number of people below the poverty line. There are a number of people in the neo-middle class
You're not answering my question, Sanjay Jha.
And at the end of the day, jobs have always remained a huge paramount problem. So now I'm answering your problem. I'm answering that. Therefore, what we had done is to mitigate the problem was to have higher social expenditure, create jobs in the rural areas, which is why Manrega, by the way, became a massive success.
Boss,
called as
are you telling Mr. Welkin, who got laid off 2 months ago, to sign up for Manrega?
Has come to this.
No, I don't understand. Are you actually telling an IT engineer
I'm trying to
sign up for Manrega? Give us, but I don't understand. Why does everybody, why does everyone in government refuse to answer the question and then call out, your own achievements? Everybody knows the achievements of both governments. Let's solve this problem now. I don't want to know what wonderful work you all have all done. I want to know how we arrived at this point and what we're going to do to solve the problem.
Yeah, Faye, I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm trying to tell you that we need to bite the bullet on this one. I think Mr. Mehrotra was actually giving it a fine balance. I'll tell you the problem that we have. Every day you will keep hearing about a new FDI coming into the country. But why has FDI not created jobs? And a lot of FDI, by the way, has also come into the MNCs of IT. Because it's not really meant for creating jobs. They've used it for acquiring new companies. They have reinvested their earnings and profits. And the net inflow into India has not been very high. So the truth is job creation cannot be left. If you're leaving it alone to the private sector, then you very well ensure private investment is high. But Faye, you know the figures. We have debated it on your channel. Private investment in this country has been sluggish for the last 4 years. New investments are at a 13-year low. You're talking about historic lows. And therefore, this is now aggravated into a serious problem. We are talking IT, but let me tell you, this is a pandemic. This is across the country, across sectors, and probably 10 times worse.
See, I don't buy this, Sanjay Jha. I don't buy what you're giving us today. I'm going to go to Praveen. Praveen, see, my problem with these answers. My problem with these answers is that both members of political parties here, both Sanjay Jha and Gopal Agarwal, yes, Mr. Agarwal, both of them seem to tell us that it's impossible for the government to write the laws. What the government should do is doing instead is trying to create jobs. But that's not the point. Please create jobs. That's separate. What we need to be looking at is, are we writing regulations that spell out clearly how these companies ought to behave or ought not to behave when they're firing someone without due cause?
With the help of bouncers.
The truth is, yeah, we don't,
Absolutely.
without bouncers, absolutely.
Fire,
Praveen, go ahead.
Yeah, first things first, it is not that we do not have laws which regulate how an employee should be retrenched. Okay, there are laws which have already been written, which are already in place. The Industrial Disputes Act, specifically mentions how an employer, or what is the process that an employer or a company has to follow if they want to retrench an employee. They have to take the written permission of the labor inspector. It's another point that there are only 14,000 inspectors or whatever it is, but they are not following the law of the land. These companies don't give a damn about the laws of the land. They take our subsidies, they take the taxpayers' money as subsidies, and they're not even worried about the law of the land. It's not just the foreign MNCs which are here. In fact, I don't think I want to make this a debate about the foreign companies which are working in India. Tech Mahindra, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, these are Indian MNCs which don't give two hoots about the law of the land over here. It is not that we need to write separate regulations. In fact, yes, I think we should write a few more regulations and bring in legislations which will support and help the employees, like the reskilling thing. I absolutely agree with the two gentlemen who have pointed out that it is the responsibility of the government and the company to reskill the employees. Yes, the technology is changing, but there is law which has to be followed. I'm sorry?
There's a law. There is a law that has to be followed, but why isn't it being followed? Gopal Agarwal, I apologize, I interrupted you. Please go ahead. Gopal Agarwal, please.
No. I appreciate this is a serious problem, and I appreciate you have raised it. This has been in debate some time back also. It came to our knowledge. The basic solution to this thing is, current problem is, I think, lies between the contract, employer-employee contract that has been set between these individuals. They are well read. They are at the time of their employment, they must have gone through the terms of the contract, and now if the terms of the contract are in violation, they have implemented in a different way, there are remedies. They have to look into it. They can form association, they can go for class plea in the court, and they can approach the government commissioners also. It's a state government also is responsible. But if there are some contracts which are violating the basic other laws also, then these contracts are in violation. These clauses are in violation of other laws. They are not implementable. So they have strong remedies with regard to those, as has been mentioned in the debate. These persons, there are issues which seems to be violating the laws. So they are using bouncers, they are putting pressure, psychological pressure. If that has been done, they should strictly go to the commissioner. They are strong persons, they can form association, and the government will be looking into this.
But Mr. Gopal, what is the government doing about this? What is the government doing about this?
I think this is the only solution for these persons.
Praveen, go ahead. Praveen, go ahead.
Government will function in a system. You cannot ask the government to just act on the individual complaints.
But be specific, Praveen, be specific, because Mr. Agarwal is listening. What do you want the government
has to be proved in a court of law. You cannot have
Mr. Agarwal,
the law is implemented. The government has to ensure that the law is implemented, and it cannot go on for months and years.
Established in the court of law.
No, 1 second. So Praveen, let's be specific. What do you want the government to do? Mr. Agarwal, let's listen. Mr. Agarwal, let's listen.
Yes,
Praveen, what do you want the government to do?
Is that the government ensure that the law is implemented. We are approaching the Labour Commissioner's office. Welkin has pointed it out. We are pointing out the same thing. When we go to the Labour Commissioner's office, in fact, Verizon has given a written statement in which they mention that 200 people have voluntarily resigned on one single day. Now, if that's not a cruel joke to you, I don't know what else is. They're saying in written statement to the Labour Commissioner that 200 people have voluntarily resigned on the single day, and there's nothing forceful that happened, and the Labour Commissioner or the government is not acting on any of these things. We want the government to ensure through its various mechanisms. Yes, I understand there are the judiciary, the executive, whatever it is, but the government has to intervene and save people's lives. These are tens of thousands of families.
There has to be a fair investigation for this
cause. Cannot say that there are courts to
asking
deal
them
with
to
it.
write a resignation letter.
Sir, this is a forceful act, and there has
No,
to be a fair
they
inquiry
can file
against
and
this.
go to the police.
I
if
don't know
force
whether you
has been
understand
used.
that the complaints are already filed. Gopalji, n number of times it has been repeatedly said that the complaints are filed, police has not taken action, Labour Commissioner has not taken any concrete action, no fair investigation has taken place.
Police station, we are at the Labour Court, we are at the High Court. What else do you want us to do? The only thing that is left is that the people's lives are on the roads and they will be on the roads. We have approached the police station, we have approached the Labour Commissioner, we have approached the High Court too.
What response did you get from the police station, Praveen?
Resolve the issues.
Praveen, what response did you get from the police station? What response did you get from the police station?
We have approached the police station. They have registered a complaint. We are gathering evidence. We are going to file a criminal charge sheet against the management for use of bouncers and goons during the retrenchment process. That is in place. That will be done in the next 2 days.
Have they registered FIR also?
All right.
Praveen, have they registered FIR?
Unfortunately, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I have run out of time, but we're going to continue to keep an eye on this. There's something very worrying about this. And in conclusion, this is where it has brought us to. There are labour laws in our country. There are various laws in our country. There are dispute laws in our country that should prevent this from happening. But it's happening at a shocking rate. And tomorrow, this could happen to you and me. This is not a problem only with the IT sector. It is a problem that could extend across media, it could extend across the pharmaceutical sector, across the aviation sector, it could extend to each of us. The truth is that there are employers right now who are calling in employees after 10 years of service and saying, you sign this resignation letter right now, leave in the next 7 minutes or I have bouncers, I will blacklist you, you will never get another job again. This is really scary. This means that these companies have zero respect for the law in our country. We need to remind them that while they're functioning in India, our laws are supreme. Which means that again, it's perhaps our Supreme Court that we look to step in and enforce the laws in our country. That while you might want to be efficient and you might be doing business quickly and you might be replacing human beings with machines, that's great, good for you, congratulations. You cannot treat Indian citizens, you cannot treat Indian employees in this manner. You cannot intimidate, you cannot threaten, you cannot blacklist. And you certainly cannot punish someone for taking legal recourse in our country. Why are so many massive, large, rich companies being allowed to treat ordinary employees in this manner? From those who work for the average employee. This is going to get worse if it is not stopped now. Each of them is going to turn around and complain about inefficiencies, and each of them is going to turn around and fire us for no reason. We must have rules and we must have someone enforcing those rules. Again, we look to our Supreme Court to come to our rescue.